According to Asi, the knowledge needed to move the blocks had been lost for a long time, and yet somehow I was able to do it, for I am the chosen one. Perhaps even more importantly, I had used this ability to save their lives. Well, after the monstrous battle that had caused so much pain and misery had started. And now the people below were looking at me, asking me with their eyes why I waited so long, why I hadn't stopped this awful battle for survival before it had began, why I had stood there, doing nothing, while they had been forced to kill those that had been enslaved by the Underworlders, and were killed in return. I didn't know, I swear I didn't know I could do any of this. I mean, I only just got to this world. How could I possibly know? It's like in the movies, where the hero suddenly discovers that he has an unknown special power right in the nick of time to save the day. And yet, it always feels totally unbelievable. So how? How are they...
Taki, the pit you dug, it's right in front of the gate. How are we supposed to get out of the village?
Huh, oh, right, I'll make a bridge, that'll work. 'Cause I'm magic. With that in mind, I guided my platform out to hover just before the gate, and again focused. One more circuit life-like glyphs appeared when my hand touched the blocks, and thus blocks everywhere responded, taking the form of a nice sturdy bridge that led from the gate and would carry anyone safely over the darklings that still screamed and raved for chaos and destruction. And as I worked, I found myself wondering how I had been able to do this. How I was so readily able to do something no one else knew how to do. I also wondered if, in saving their lives, I had destroyed their ability to accept me. If they would fear me the same way they feared the Underworlders. If Asi and all of them would... It looks like all the Darklings are either down or contained, Liliana. What about the Underworlders? Did anyone see what happened to them?
I saw two of them go flying over the village wall. I lost track of Gwenor when the Darkling swarmed over me. Anybody see where she went? She went right here.
I froze at the sound of the cold, miserable voice that sounded behind me, and then panicked when I felt a pair of arms wrapping around me. Ah, son of a bitch. Looking back in shock, I saw Gwenor clutching at me. And even worse, I felt my feet sliding down something. Then I looked down and saw a pool of ooze beneath me, into which I was rapidly sinking. A pool that abruptly sank past the limits of the blocks I stood upon, resulting in me falling into an impossible tunnel of slime that had appeared from seemingly nowhere. Ah, fuck! I quickly tried to summon the blocks, but before I could even try to do so, more slime rose up my body and sheathed my hands, keeping me from touching the blocks even as I was pulled down into the ooze.
No, I won't let you do this. We were so close to being free, and then you ruined everything. And now... now you're going to pay.
Oh, shit. I tried to command the blocks even as Gwenor sucked me down into a tunnel of slime, but nothing happened. Not so much as a single block came to my aid. Shit! I guess I can't just command the blocks unless I'm touching at least one of them. And to my dismay, there were no blocks in this world of cold and slime and ooze that Gwenor was presently pulling me through. There was nothing solid at me to grab, to gain any kind of leverage. I had lost my useless sword earlier. Hey, it's not a loss if it's useless, right? Huh? And my shield was of no good in this situation. And so I'd gone from virtually unstoppable to completely helpless, all in the blink of an eye. I broke one of the biggest rules of gaming. Always focus on the boss and characters first. But where is she taking me? To their secret underground lair. It wasn't long before I got my answer as Gwenor pulled me out of her world of cold ooze and into sections of woods. But even as I caught the sight of the precious blocks that were my weapon, strands of hair shot forth and ensnared me once again, lifting me up out of the ooze and hefting me high into the air. And this time, make sure he doesn't squirm free. But of course. Good work, Gwenor. As I looked down from where I was hung suspended in midair, I saw scorn and fury in the eyes of the three Underworlder girls, with no fury greater than that being shot at me by Gwenor.
Kill him. Please kill him.
I couldn't help but be chilled by the sheer venom in Gwenor's words, at the sheer misery and rage that spilled down from her eyes.
We were so close to finally being free. That was the last village. The overworld would have been ours until he ruined everything. Kill him! Kill him and make him suffer.
No, Gwenor, we won't be killing him. I have a much better idea. How are you feeling? Do you have enough energy for another ectoport?
No, not yet. Still tired, and why won't you kill him? He needs to die. He's dangerous. He's already ruined everything.
He's not dangerous. At least not as long as we could keep him away from any of the blocks. I saw how his power worked, remember? He has to touch the blocks in order to manipulate them. And that's something I'm not going to let happen again. And he might have trapped the Darklings we fought to battle. But there are more roaming these lands. All we have to do is round up another force of them. Just rest a little bit, and be ready to get us out of here as soon as you can. The Overworlders won't be long in trying to track us down. I really didn't like the way Adriana said that she had a better idea. I've heard that said in enough video games and movies to know what that meant really... it was going to be really bad. Even worse, I had a pretty good idea as to what that better idea entailed, and it was something I wanted no part in. But at the same time, the Underworlders' words meant that wherever we were still fairly close to Kahe Village, close enough for Aussie and maybe some others to find us if we waited here long enough. And while I couldn't touch the blocks, I sincerely doubted that any of them were dumb enough to take the chance of letting me get free. If I could find some way to stall them. Why are you all doing this? Why are we doing what? This war. Why'd you start it in the first place? Why do you hate the Overworlders so much that you do all of this to them? Do you really think you're doing them a favor by turning them into mindless monsters?
Shut up. Just shut up. Please kill him, or let me kill him.
I said no, and I meant no. And as for you, I'll be the one asking the questions from here on out. For instance, you referred to the Overworlders as them. Like you're not one of them. And you were able to move the blocks. You were able to control them, make them do whatever you wanted. Despite the fact that no one's known how to do that for centuries, or even longer. So what exactly are you? Well, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but I had managed to get the Underworlders talking. Now all I had to do was keep them talking. Maybe even get them to gloat how helpless I was, and how that there was no chance of me escaping and all that. At least, until help would come. I'm not from this world. I came from a place called Earth. My father, well, I was trying one of his inventions, and somehow I wound up here. The Underworlders reacted to this statement pretty much the way you'd expect that any rational person would. Gwenor scowled, Nevia looked at me like I'd lost my damn mind, and Adriana rolled her eyes like I was the biggest moron on the face of the planet. Not from this world? What kind of idiots do you think we are? Honestly, what idiot would be stupid enough to believe such a pathetic story? I would. What? At this declaration, both Nevia's associates looked at her like she had completely lost her mind. Huh? He's telling the truth. I can sense it in his words. Great. She's a living lie detector, just like Dawn. Just what I didn't need. Wait. You mean he's actually from a different planet? Are you kidding me? Hey, you don't believe me, then fine. But how else are you supposed to explain him being able to control the blocks when no one else in this entire world could do it? If either Adriana or Gwenor had a comeback for this, they failed to give their voice to it. Instead, they turned their eyes towards me in wonderment. Well, if that's the case, why are you helping the Overworlders?
Yeah, why did you ruin our chance of being free?
I have a bunch of reasons, But the first of them is through the fact that I ran into a bunch of your Darklings almost as soon as I got here. What, you expect me to work for a bunch of mindless monsters that tried to fireball me to death? While Adriana and Gwenor made faces at this, Nevia just laughed wickedly.
Well, you can't argue against that logic. So, you really have no idea what's going on, do you? No idea why we hate the Overworlders so much?
I have no idea. All I know is that you three were brainwashing people into being monsters and making them fight against each other.
We hate them because they're the reason we live in the Underworld in the first place.
Huh? What do you mean by that?
They didn't approve of the way we lived our lives, of the fact that we were stronger and took what we wanted. Before we lost the ability to move the blocks, the Overworlders exiled our ancestors to the Underworld. They couldn't stand that we embraced the darkness, when they only wanted light. So they decided they would trap us in the perpetual dark of the Underworld for all time. Do you know how awful it is to be down there? Trapped where the blocks were first made, just trying to survive every single day. Yeah, and every day we spent down there just trying to keep ourselves alive. We woke and went to sleep, knowing that the Overworlders were looking down upon us, mocking us.
But that happened centuries ago. You said as much as yourselves. Aussie and everyone else I've met, they had nothing to do with your ancestors being exiled.
Those weak, worthless wastes of skin were still enjoying their lives that we deserved. Besides, they were living above us for centuries. How the heck could they not be looking down on us?
I swear, just trying to process that bit of so-called logic almost had me sprain my brain. I found myself wish I could properly move, if only to massage the headache I got from my efforts. But you're still destroying them. Even though they never did anything to you, it was their ancestors that banished you.
So what? They still have something we want. We're going to take it from them. End of story. After all, that's how we do things. And if they're too weak to stop us, well, then they die. It really doesn't get much simpler than that.
I had not been a fan of the Underworlders before now, but it was fair to say that my opinion of them hit an all-time low after hearing them say these things. The fact that they had no compassion, so clearly didn't care about the people that suffered as a result of their actions, just burned in the pit of my stomach. Okay, so, if you were trapped in the Underworld, how did you manage to get free? I thought you said you didn't know how to move the blocks.
Oh, we might not have been able to make them sit up and play tricks the way you do. But that doesn't mean we can't take something made of the blocks apart, one block at a time. And do you have any idea how long it took us to tunnel up to the surface? To get close enough to allow Gwenor to get even those of us here up into the Overworld? How many generations of our kind wasted their lives, breaking down the layers between our worlds, one block at a time? How much? And do you have any idea what he's tricking us into doing? Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, fuck. I was hoping I could buy more time. Isn't it obvious? While we're standing around here explaining our past and all the rest to him, his overworld friends are probably out there, trying to find us. Or do you really think they're stupid enough to just stand around and let us turn someone who controls the block to darkness? I couldn't help but shudder at this. Both at the fact that Adriana had caught on to my plan, such as it was, and the confirmation as to what the Underworlders had in store for me.
Turn to darkness? You want me to turn him to darkness? Exactly. Just imagine what we could do if we could command the blocks. We wouldn't need an army of Darklings to lay siege to that blasted village. The village itself would take care of the Overworlders for us. We could even have the village's head's own home come flying to us with her in it, unguarded and ready to be turned. But I don't know if I can manage it. Those ectoports, I'm still so tired. We don't have a choice, Gwenor. I don't want to kill him unless we have no choice. Not with how long it'll take us to round up enough Darklings for another army. And it'd be too dangerous to try and haul him away someplace else. All it'll take is him latching onto a single block, and we're in big trouble all over again.
Gwenor's expression made it clear that she wasn't happy about that idea. Me? I was even less happy. The idea of being turned into yet another mindless horror, a monstrosity that only existed to destroy the lives of others, made me sick to my stomach. Hey, hold on! Turn me into... Look, controlling the blocks takes concentration. Do you really think I'll be able to do that once you cook my brain?
Then I guess we'll have to take it slow to make sure that you can still use your head. And even if it doesn't work, well, at least you'll get to suffer for getting in our way. Yes, you deserve to suffer. He sure does. And after our attack blew up in our faces, I could use some entertainment.
Well, crap. Without another word, Nevia lowered me closer to the ground, all the while taking care to make certain that I was not able to reach the blocks. Positioning me so that I was lying face up, with my arms and legs spread out to my sides. She then sent even more tendrils out of her hair out to ensnare the areas against my crotch, waist, and neck. The tendrils tightened around my frame, making it hard for me to breathe as Gwenor loomed over me.
I'm going to enjoy watching Gwenor completely destroy you. Just the way I'm gonna enjoy the way she makes you enjoy it.
My heart thundering into my chest, helpless as never before in my life. I squirmed about as much as I could, trying to get free from the restraining hair. Oh, dear Lord, help. But Nevia had me tight, and her hair barely gave me much of an inch as Gwenor moved purposely towards me. Raising one leg and moving as that she stood right over me, gazing into my eyes with pure hatred.
We were almost free, you monster!
And what about the people of Kahe Village? And all the other overworlders that you've destroyed? Doesn't their freedom matter at all? Gwenor gave me a vicious slap to my right cheek, even as the tentacles of living ooze emerged from her, wrapping around my legs. Tears of rage and hatred spilled from her eyes as she straddled me.
No!
Remember, you have to bring him over to the darkness. But you can't drive him feral. We need his mind, not just his body, so be careful. Gwenor gave a single curt nod even as she spread over my lower body and ripped open the front of my shirt, snarling at me as she raked her nails over my chest, nails that were laced with flame and sent me crying out in agony. She then grabbed my throat and halfway choked me as she brought my face up to her own.
I hate you, as I've never hated anyone before.
Gwenor then clamped her hand over my mouth, and before I knew it, what was happening, sent streams of her vicious substance creeping into my mouth. The foul substance tasted the same way I would imagine sewer water would. It was cold and horrible as it drained down into my throat. The same foul substance that wrapped around me began to rhythmically pulse about my frame.
Go on, give in. No one's coming to help you. Just give in. Feel the darkness, the ecstasy of it all.
And to my horror, I could feel something rising in me. I felt hatred. I felt rage. I felt lust and much, much worse. In the past, I had experienced some not nice impulses and urges. Things that I hated feeling and thinking would flash through my mind and make me feel sickened. And all these things I had always been quick to say were wrong and evil, and was quick to squash them and shove them out of my mind. But what I was experiencing at that moment was the same thing, only much, much worse. It was every evil I could have ever conceived, every act of cruelty and barbarism that I was physically capable of, and it was all flowing freely into my mind. And even as I struggled to shove those vile horrors from my consciousness, they kept coming. And they kept coming stronger. And what was worse was the way my body reacted to them.